I was flipping through the channels with the Browns and the Tribe, of course. But the fans were booing, and that just irritated me. We're talking about a 19, team that won 19 games, and are playing for the championship, and your hometown is booing you. Now, granted, they lost the game. It wasn't pretty or anything like that, but you have to show support, respect. I don't know what you want to call it, but they played their butts off all year. They were the best team ever with 19 wins. And that's the way you treat them.
I don't like fans that do that in any sport. You
have the right to boo. When you lose 102 games in a season, I can understand that. But when you have dominated the league and you lose one game, which happens to be the championship game, but at least you made it there,
Oh,
and you treat these players like that.
Bruce, last year you were there. I was there. The wild card game. Now, obviously, the rest of the arena stood up and overwhelmed it and gave them a standing ovation. But near the end and at the end of that Indians game, there was a noticeable section. There's just a group of society that does that, and it's they believe, and they're right. They paid their money. It is their right to do it, even though I don't think it's right. It's one thing to me when you're out there and you look like crap and you're embarrassing yourself during the game. I get booing the home team from time to time. I'm not that much of a homer because it's the same as any product. To me, that's the same as if they don't make your burger the way you want it at McDonald's, you take it back up to the counter and you ask them to fix it. Same thing with sports. They're providing you with a product, and I get that. But at the end, when it's all said and done, man, show appreciation. And that bugs me. But I saw it last year. The Indians they run down 10 in a row. They chase this thing down at the end. They get to the playoffs. And then, it was definitely not the performance that they wanted. I get it. They left guys on base. They couldn't get anything going offensively. But, to see, and whether it's a small group or not, but to see them booing in the ninth inning like that. And, it's like, so it feels good to see the crowd show them that. And I agree with you. I do think at the end of that, especially, that's a record-breaking season.
I thought it was strictly like Bush League on the part of the fans, it's like,
fans. And that's the best part, though. It came from Gladiator fans, which maybe they were frustrated. I know I can understand that part. But the fact that here's all you need to do to appreciate what the Gladiators did. 18,410 people went to that game. The Gladiators average half of that during the regular season.
Regular season, exactly.
9,000. The fact that they put 18,000 people in that stadium says that was the payoff for the season, is what I'm saying. That's what
now. See, I look at it like they had it was a championship game, and Cleveland fans will go and support. They won't go all year, but they will go if you win a championship or if you go to a playoff game.
Well, you are right. Mike Brandenberry says that a lot. He says Cleveland is the kind of fan base that when there is something there, some event, a big thing, yes, we can sell it out. We can pack it. We can, and I agree with you there.
But you have to be the winner before they'll show up, is what I'm saying. I go to 20 Indians games a year. I used to go to more than that, but I go to 20. And, I see, 18,000, 15,000, whatever, But you go to a playoff game, I can barely get a ticket. And I go, I'm a regular.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, part of that
and here's these people that go to one game a year get the ticket to the playoff game.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
I don't get that. Back in the 90s, I used to say, give them a questionnaire and see if they get 3 out of 5 questions right, you get a ticket.
You got to prove your fanhood to Bruce to get your ticket to the playoff
That's
game.
That's it. You don't just walk in there and take the seat of somebody that's been there, every night, and you're going to sit on your hands. I'm going to actually cheer and give them a standing O when they do something right. And you're not even going to know what's going on.
No, you are 100% right. But I just love the visual of, answer this first. If you get 3 out of 5, I'll let you buy this ticket. Like the Indians.
I swear I did that when we were standing in line getting our tickets. I asked people who was the manager of the Indians, and they said John Hart.
There you go, man. Hey,
they didn't know a general manager from the manager. What are you doing in my line?
No. We get that a lot, though. There's people that don't know. They say John Hart's the owner when he was the general manager. You know what I mean?
Right.
The Dolans are the general manager when they're the owner. We get them all
mixed up. The general manager right now is Mark Shapiro that doesn't even know that, Chris Antonetti's the GM and,
Chris Shapiro and Mark Antonetti. What are you talking about? Because I get those too. People mix up the names. So, anyways, what else? Let's check in on the weekend. So, Gladiators.
Okay,
obviously.
Gladiators out of the way. The Tribe, of course, won 2 out of 3 when they should have won 3.
Yeah,
but you got to remember one thing on that throw that Santana made the second. That was more Ramirez's fault because he didn't get off the bag. I mean, he was standing like right in the center of the bag, waiting on the throw.
Well, he needed to be 12 feet tall to catch that ball, though, Bruce.
But he didn't give Santana a lane on either side to throw the ball to. He almost had to hit the runner in the back of the head.
No, that's why he threw high. I do know that. But hey, I don't care. They can share the blame. You can give the blame to whoever. I don't necessarily have to give it to Santana, but they all stunk. So I don't care who you want to give the blame to on that one. But my kid's Little League team plays better than that.
Yeah, that I have to admit. Okay, and last but not least, the Browns. Does anybody on that team read the playbook, or can anybody actually read? Obviously, nobody could read a defense. I mean, they were throwing the ball all over the field. Both quarterbacks were throwing it everywhere. I mean, Johnny did run one in, but only because, if he would have thrown it, it probably would have been picked off or hit somebody in the foot.
Let me just jump in there, because you just reminded me of a point. It's just the media bias that drives me crazy. Everybody, and this will go for your girl Mary Kay over at the Plain Dealer, every story that I've seen, for the most part, especially the Plain Dealer, Mary Kay, and a couple of the ones that are really one-sided towards Manziel, they make sure to point out that Brian Hoyer's touchdown drive was only because of a long kickoff return, but nobody points out that Manziel's drive started on the 7-yard line or whatever. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I get a kick out of that because I'm like, look, I don't think either one of these guys is going to do a good job this season based on what we've seen. So at this point, I'm just hoping that we can run the ball a lot and then run it some more, because otherwise we may be in some trouble. But I got to tell you, it's not as much the quarterbacks, either one of them. It's these wide receivers are not helping them at all, and it's not just dropping the ball. They're not getting. It's like they're not. Maybe they don't have a second gear to have. Maybe they don't have another gear, but they're not finding it. You know what I mean?
And they were running wrong routes, and they were. They were just doing everything that,
I got to tell you,
you never been on the field before.
I'm not making excuses, but I do know that actually on both of Hoyer's turnovers, and I swear I would tell you this even if it was Manziel, you guys know I'm honest, on both of them, it was a mistake, like you said, of running the route. The one, Hoyer should have held back on the throw, but it was a designated throw. Guy was supposed to be here, so I throw to the spot no matter what, but he should have known better. He threw it right where the linebacker was standing. But on the sack, too, Austin ran the wrong route, which led to that play being busted the way it was. And it's like...
And he stopped.
Right. And so we've got guys running the wrong routes. I'm going to keep going back to, is there something... I'm not going to blame the offense, because other teams have ran this offense before, but it's got to be simplified. Right, Charles in the chat room, exactly. But my question is, didn't Washington use the same complicated terminology? I'm not saying Washington did great. I don't know how well they ran it. I'm just saying this can't be the first team that's ever ran into this. So I'll give that some of the problem, but regardless, they do have to simplify it. Much like you talk about, if you were starting Manziel, you'd have to strip down the playbook to these plays. Well, just for the whole friggin' offense, strip down the playbook for now. And once you get an effective base going, then you can add more to it, you know? But, I mean, there has to be, and well, there we go. Washington never ran it any better either. So maybe it's just these ridiculously long play calls. But, you know, I do believe that's something that they need to work on for the next 2 weeks is whatever it takes. Bro, if this starting offense does not play at least the whole first quarter, if not the whole first half this coming Thursday, then I'm going to be pissed at Mike Pettin and this whole coaching staff because you cannot not get these guys more work. I mean, there's a reason that they came back out into the third quarter. That doesn't always happen a lot in the third preseason game. They need to work together as much as possible. I mean, have to this week. None of this one series and then we're putting everybody on the bench. You know, you can't do that. These guys got to play together and you got to figure something out. And I'm curious to see if they make any moves here with the with wide receivers, because all the roster cuts went down here this week. Jonathan Krause, he was let go by the. I kind of liked the little bit that I saw of him, but he was fighting an uphill battle here. Edwin Baker, I guess, was the only, I guess you could say, surprise. Anthony Armstrong had his contract terminated. He came up on a couple of catches the other night. So there's a few wide receivers cut loose. Which means that I think they're definitely, they have no choice but to look at what these other teams cut and see if there's anybody out there because they need some wide receivers to come up, Bruce. But, I mean, they've got to get this offense on the same page. I thought, hey, you can say, hey, Hoyer threw an interception, but that first drive of the game, the offense was moving. The offense was looking good, and they stalled down matter of fact, it was Tate. When he ran backwards on that play, it kind of killed the momentum of that drive. But I was a little bit happy to see the beginning because I'm like, okay, they can't.
Well, he had 5 carries or 3 carries for 5 yards.
Yeah, well, no, but I mean, I'm talking about the passing part of the offense. They were moving it at first. They had a couple of good passes. They got down. Like, I thought that first drive was moving all right. And the last one, at the end of the half, they got in. It was a nice series of plays to get them in, even though it was against a mix. It wasn't the entire second-team defense, but it was a mix. And so it wasn't the entire first-string defense either, if you want to be fair. But, I mean, I thought there was some good there, you're beginning to see them get on the same page, but man, you need to see a lot more.
Did you notice that every time that Hoyer was chased, it was on the same side that Schwartz was on?
It's Schwartz. Mitchell Schwartz is killing.
He was like a turnstile.
Yeah, that was one of my. It's on my list of things I wanted to talk about on the Browns game. Mitchell Schwartz has got. I don't know if he's got this job locked up by default or what over there, but he's going to be a sieve all season long. He doesn't run block well. He doesn't he's missing guys. Going to get the quarterback. Going to get both of these quarterbacks blown up before this season's over with. Man, like I'll tell you, I was talking to my son while we're watching the game. I said, "Hey, Bitonio can play tackle. Worst come to worst, man." I said, "Man, maybe if Pinkston had been able to play this season, then maybe you could have plugged him in at the guard and moved Bitonio over to tackle or something." But man, Schwartz has got to pick it up or he's got to go because
there was a couple of plays where he was using his shoulder to block. He wasn't even had his hands out in front of him.
I'm not a Mitchell Schwartz guy at all, man. You know what? People complain about Weeden and Richardson. That was the third part of the trifecta in that draft. Remember when the Browns had 3 of the top 30-something picks in that draft? That was the third part of the trifecta was Mitchell Schwartz. And, man, I got to tell you, man, he's killing them on that side. You're right. He's going to get Hoyer hurt. For those of you that missed it, Sam Bradford out for the season exactly like what could just – look, when he went down, it didn't even look like a big deal. It just looked like he just got knocked over. Right, and they were being careful. You're thinking, okay, we don't want to mess around. We're going to get this guy off, and we're going to make sure that he's done for the season. He got hit in the same knee that he had surgery, re-ruptured the thing, and now he's gone for the season, and the Rams, just like that, are missing their guy, and that's their gun, you know? But, I mean, look how easily that happened and how much you didn't even realize it until the next day. Because that night, the reports were that they didn't believe there was any more ACL damage. They just thought that he was banged up.
Thought it was a torn tendon
the next
or a
day,
stretch.
Out for the season. And I'm like, wow. So that'll show you just how close Manziel is to being in a football game, just like that, at the snap of a fingers, man. And the same thing can happen to him too. But like you nailed it. You're like, am I crazy? No, you're not crazy. The pressure is coming from that side, and you can't.